I really believe there's a million ways to scale your business. There's no one way, which is why sometimes I'm so opposed to like certain strategies because I'm like, that's worked one time for someone, but that's not how everyone else should build their business. Everyone is so unique. Everyone has a different set of skill sets. Everyone has different personality types. Everyone has different dreams and desires. And so often I see people with business models that they've built because they're like, I think that's what I need to succeed. And then they're sad, they're unhappy, they're burnt out. There's a reason why, and I'll do a video on this, there's a reason why I've never been burnt out before. I've never experienced that. And I work hard. And I've always worked hard, but there's a reason why, and I believe it's because of the way that I've always structured my business. I've never built from down here of like, what do I think people need from me and created a business based on need. I've always created based on like, where am I at? What can I share? Like, what makes me come alive? What excites me? What's the aliveness in my world right now? Like, what can I share? What's the intelligence? What's the learnings? What do I love? And I've always built on there. So even when I've like spent a lot of time and energy and I might be tired, I feel so fueled all the time because I was never doing this for everyone else from the lens of like, okay, everyone needs this from me. I don't really want to do this. I've always been like, okay, like what makes me come alive? And I've always built my business around that. So before I get into what I want to speak about, I'm actually going to read a post that I wrote. It's on my Instagram. And the reason why I want to read this is I just feel like before we get in, this is a really good piece that will just kick us all off. So I have no interest in teaching you step by step how to make millions in your business. That's not just like a good hook. That's just like, I just don't believe in the step by steps. Because here's why. If I show you my way, you'll be limited to the confines of my structure. You'll depend on me and you'll zoom in on insignificant details. You'll get distracted in my world instead of building your own. And I see this everywhere. People are like, okay, but what software are you using? And like, what did you do? And like, teach me how to write a post on Instagram. And it's like, I can do that, but you're asking the wrong question. Don't ask me how like, what to say on Instagram. Ask me about like, how do you become someone where like you don't even need to think about what do you say on Instagram. You're just so overfull and you just write what's alive inside of you. Like that's a very different question. I think that gives you better results because then if I teach you, how to write a post, you'll believe that your success is linked to how to write that post, and you will only ever stick to that structure of how to write a post. And then you'll be limited. This is why a lot of people, when I speak to them, their entire business is caged by all of these ways and all of these shoulds, and it's so limiting. And it's not to say that strategy is wrong. I think strategy can be very good when you leverage strategy, but you leverage it to then find your own. The world doesn't need another Rebecca Statham. The world needs what only you can create. Can see that I'm filming this on Zoom because I'm like, it's just easier for me right now. And we'll get into making things really simple a little bit later on. Here's what I am interested in. I'm interested in discovering what makes you come alive and giving you structures to build a business based on your vision. I'm interested in understanding the core of your genius and identifying monetization pathways and channels that will amplify your resources, enabling you to build a life beyond your wildest dreams. And what that means is like, tell me what makes you come alive. Tell me what excites you, and we'll build the business around that. That is the easiest way to do things, right? I think when you start to get into, and this is the thing, everything works. Every way works. You'll find a strategy that'll be like, call 1,000 people and sell them a service. That works. Drop shipping works. Network marketing works. Affiliate marketing works. Everything works, but it's like, what do you want to get behind and what can you get behind? I'm interested in your body of work and the stories your mind tells you about what is and isn't possible. I'm interested in what you believe about yourself and what lies beyond the limits. I'm interested in your ideas and ideating on ways to expand your ideas. I'm interested in the books you want to write, the masterminds you want to launch, and the products you're creating. I'm interested in the sustainability of you and your vision. I'm interested in how you feel. I'm interested in your heart and how alive your business is and how happy you are. I'm interested in how in love you are, how often you pick up the phone to your family. I'm interested in the conversations you have with yourself behind closed doors when no one sees you. I'm interested in the experiences that you embark on, the limits you move beyond, and how much of the world you see. I have no interest in teaching you how to create a brand exactly like mine. I'm interested in teaching you how to connect to the heart of your business. I'm interested in giving you the tools to visually communicate who you are and where you're going. I have no interest in teaching you structures that dilute your voice and disperses your intelligence. Instead, I'll teach you how to unleash your truth, uncage your voice, and speak directly to humans who are seeking you. And there was more, but I had to cut it off because they could only fit so many words in one space on Instagram, but I'll leave it there. And so in this video, what I want to do is I want to share behind the scenes of scaling to at least the first million in my business, because I used to make it this big thing of like, when I get to this million, everything's going to change. And I think everything does change in a few ways, but at the same time, nothing changes because you were always that person. And I think this is where I want to start. There's this be, do, have paradigm. You might have heard it. It's like, who do I need to be? What do I need to do in order to have this result? And one thing that I realized very early on was like, I can't wait to become the one. I can't wait to be someone, because I have to be that version well before I get the result. Because when you get the result, you didn't just change in that moment, the change came well beforehand. It came well before that. So make sure that that's in your mind of like, stop waiting to be someone. You choose to be someone now. That's the biggest thing here. So how do we do this for you, for your business? You've got to go all in on something. You know, my entire life, I have been obsessed with people and potential. Everything I do has a link. So you've got to find the thing that you love the most. And it doesn't need to be super clear, but it's like, what are you obsessed with? What are you in love with? My first product, my first ever, and do I have it on my bookshelf? I feel like I do, but I'll keep going with my video. My first book, Ignite Your Spark, that changed everything. And I'll do a video on how I wrote that book, because I did it in 7 days, became a best-selling author in 7 days, which is wild. But it wasn't actually the result of the book. It's who I became as I wrote that book. That changed everything. So my product suite of like, I'm gonna just actually go into like what I sold. It started with a book. This is what I say, like, don't just follow my structure, because you do not need a book to grow your business. You just don't. You don't need your book, okay? But I started with a book because I was like, I've got this message to share. And I was doing it on Instagram a little bit, but I was like, I want to share this message. And so that's why I wrote the book. From there, I created my first course. And the course was basically the book, but turned into like a digital program format. One person bought. One person bought. I made, I think it was around $700 from the first program. One person bought. I didn't have an audience. I didn't have any, like, I guess I had a bit of authority in terms of like, I was a best-selling author at the stage, but I went all in on that program. I delivered the entire thing. It was all live. So I'm like delivering these live modules, doing Q&A with this one person. I'm pretty sure from memory, I was a little bit embarrassed, and I was like, oh, like, we're just going to do one-on-one sessions. So, you know, this one participant was just getting like all of me live all of the time for 5 weeks. I delivered that, and then I never sold it again. Don't ask me why. I just was like, okay, I finished that. Let's move on. And by this stage, COVID's really starting to kick in. And I realize that the world is changing, and I see everyone in so much fear. And I think about like, what can I create for people? Because there's so much knowledge that I have. You know, my background's in sales. I've been doing sales my entire life from a work standpoint. And so I create this really low ticket experience called Passion to Profit. And it's like, how do you take an idea and how do you create something from that idea? And at that stage, I'd made, you know, with book sales and with my one program, I'd made around $1,000 with like the book and the program. And so I'm like, if I can just teach people how to make a few $100s or a few thousand, like, do you know what I mean? Like, if I can teach people how to do that, how incredible would that be? And this program changed everything for me. I think I realized how good I was at articulating knowledge and how in love I was. I never started this out wanting to be a business coach. That I really had no interest in. That's essentially what I do now, but like I was never like I want to be a business coach. What I'm really interested in is like what lives within people and helping them extract that into something tangible. It's like, tell me what's alive within you, and I'll tell you. We'll ideate together. I'll look at your dreams, I'll look at your vision, I'll look at where you're going, I'll look at your family life, like what do you actually want to build? And I'll help you build the brand for that. I'll help you build the structures and the offers and the body of work, all of that. And that just really started to kick things off. I think around 10 people bought. I made another $1,000 from that. And at the time, I was really discovering this online coaching. And I was like, I'm just in love with that. Like, I feel like I'd been doing that for a long time prior, especially with my fashion label. I obviously had my fashion label a few years prior, and I'd always been teaching people and like how to do this. I'd always been doing the coaching, but I'd just never been paid for it. I've been doing it for such a long time. People would ask me like, how did you do it? And how do I start up a business like this? And I'm like, okay, well, this is what I did. This is what I did. These are the lessons. These are the failures. And then I was doing all of this personal development at the same time. So for me, it was just logical for me to make that next step. And I remember, this is the coolest story. I had a discovery call with one person, and she's like, how much is it to do coaching with you? And I said, it's $100 a session. And she said, I can't afford it. And I remember ending that call and thinking, I need to restructure these packages, because I'm someone that wasn't really about the pricing, but I'd always been someone that like, I will always make it work no matter what. And I'm like, let's not do individual sessions. Like, let's actually restructure these packages so that they're more beneficial for the people. And so I created these like 12-week experiences, 10-week experiences where we had the calls, and then in between we had like support, and then they got access to this, and then they got access to like I did funnels at the time. They had access to all of these things. And I created these packages, and they were around $4,000 each. And I did this free experience, and at the end I sold these packages and 5 people registered. I had my first $20,000 month. And it was just the coolest thing. And this is where everything started to change. And I started to create a lot more. I really found my thing. But you can see here how it was like all of the dots started to connect. And I think some people, they strategize everything. They're like, okay, I'm going to do this funnel, and then that's going to lead to that, and that's going to lead to that. I actually stopped doing funnels because I realized that they were limiting my business, in the sense of like, I'm someone that I will always choose the VIP option if I can. I love that. And I was taught to always put like the digital product first, or like sell the free thing and everything's on the back end. And I was like, I don't want to hide my offers. I'm so proud of these offers. These offers are changing people's lives. And I'm working with these humans, and their businesses are going from like making $2,000 a month to 20,000 to 30,000. I have a client who, like, and I won't mention names, but came to me and she was making around $2,000 a month, scaled her business. She went to, 100K months, 100K days. Like, I knew how powerful this work was. I knew how powerful the knowledge and intelligence that I'd, learned about so many different things, and at this stage, my business is growing. I knew how valuable that was. And so from the money lens, that started to stack, because I was just creating, and I was delivering programs, and I was doing the mentoring, and then I was raising the prices because I was getting all this evidence of like people's lives are changing. Like, I need to now like increase this slightly. And that from a monetary lens, there's obviously a lot more to that. I have a million different experiences and programs that teach all of that, and how I really did that, and how to then build a body of work, how to launch that body of work. But on a me side, I leveraged everything I had, all of that money. I didn't just go buy a Prada bag or a Gucci bag. That came well after, but I then leveraged all of that into support. So I hired my first team member very early on. I wouldn't recommend doing this, but for me, I just found the perfect person. She's now my graphic designer. She does so much for my clients. We do a lot of branding for clients, and she's been with me now for around 4 years. It's so special, but I was paying her well before I could pay myself. Like I didn't start paying myself for a long time. I would sometimes take a little bit of money out just to pay for like obviously food and things that I needed, but I leveraged all of that income. Everything I had went into mentorship because I wanted to normalize new realities. I wasn't just going to sit there delusional thinking, okay, maybe I can. I wanted to be in rooms where there was so much certainty of like, I don't just know you can, like, you absolutely can, and here's why. So I wanted to really reduce the friction between the dreams that I had and the areas that I wanted to go into. And I also realized there was a responsibility as a mentor. And obviously, there's a million different business models that you can choose. But because I was going down this mentorship route, it's like I have responsibility here. Like, there are people that are investing money into me. I'm not just going to play small. Like, I need to move myself. I really believe you can only lead people to the depth in which you've led yourself. So I was not going to sit on the sidelines and play small. I wasn't going to wait for someone to move with me for me to then move into other rooms. So I was moving myself, even when clients stopped paying or even when a client wouldn't sign up. I was sitting at rooms with multimillionaires having these big conversations and making big moves and leading myself. And I was changing all of the time. I no longer had a belief of like, one day I can do this. It's like, it's a knowing. And I think you've got to do whatever it takes to go from the belief of like, I can do this to like, I know I can do this. And I think what really helps is obviously you can move yourself into different environments and that can be really powerful. Get in a mastermind, get in a room where your dreams, they're kind of like people's normal. I think that really changes things. But I think another thing that I did was I kept things really simple. At the start, I really wasted a lot of time trying to set up structures that I just didn't need. I had like the best funnel software and the best like upsells and downsells, but I was like, I was overcomplicating everything. And I remember really getting rid of all of that and letting go of a lot of that knowledge that I had around like how to write a sales page and like all of that. Not because that information was wrong, but I was like, my work is about aliveness and I'm spending all of my time trying to build out a tech system. Let me just sell my offers and let me just speak directly to the people that I know my work is going to change. And I just simplified everything. I would just send out like a Stripe link. Like it was so simple. Even like this video is the perfect example. I'm just recording on Zoom. It's so simple. Because it's like, we've got to reduce friction sometimes. Most people are like, I need to have the best setup or I can't start. I know the setup will improve. I have a very fancy camera, but I'm like, I don't even want to set that up yet. Like, I just want to keep it simple. I have a webcam somewhere over here. There's a little bit of chaos in my room, in this room right now. It's like, I can, but I just let the message be the message. And I realize people don't care about the fancy thing. They want someone to see them and see what's possible for them. And so I kept things really simple and I cared a lot about the people in my world and I gave them everything. If you watch the previous video, Alchemizing Emotions, I shared, how I was going through such intense things, but I was able to still show up. I was running masterminds. I was doing my work because I loved it. And I never burnt out because I was so connected to this work. So you've got to think about when you're choosing your thing to go all in, make sure it's something that you're obsessed with. And I know people say like, don't do that. Don't try and monetize your passion. But I'm like, if I don't love what I do, then like you can forget about it. I just have no interest in that. So make sure like if you want to go down this route, remember that there's a million ways to build your business. I really believe there's a million different ways to build your business. Make sure that if you're gonna go all in on something, you choose something that you can get behind, that you can always learn about. And because I was always learning and moving and like I was growing myself and I was discovering new pathways, I had so much to share. That's why I have like 15 different programs. I have a program on launching. I have a program on body of work. I have a program on dreams and how to actualize your dreams. I have a program on how to coach and mentor. I have a program on what was the recent one we just did, Ignition, which is 30 days to ignite your idea. Like I have so much to say and so much to share because I was always moving myself. I didn't just get information and think that's a cool idea. I went and found out who I was with that information. I was always putting myself in rooms that expanded me, right? And I held standards too. There's a part of this where, like, when you're going for something, you've got to hold standards. And the analogy that I'll use for this is like, when you've got a dream, like you're going somewhere. And so the analogy I love is like, I'm climbing up a mountain. I choose to move myself up this mountain. And I think people, they sometimes, even when they get clients, they don't want to move forward because they feel like they're leaving everyone behind. Have you ever felt like there's something in you where you're like, I know I need to move forward. There's something big that I've got to go do. It's like your journey. There's a journey that you know you've got to embark on. And you have a feeling of like, I might leave people behind. You have to, what you do from a business lens, and I'm speaking like people in your, like, they're not family, but the people in your world, you've got to keep moving. But what you can do is you can build structures and say, hey, I'm going here. If you want to come with me, here's a door that you can walk through. Here's a space that you can walk through. So I have things like, I have a year-long membership where it's like, if you want to come to a year with me and have yearly mentorship with me and access all of my programs, go join the Ignited Experience. That's a door that I open for people. So it's like, you can always come with me. You know, I have my private mentorship where, like, if you want to do life side by side for 3, 6, 12 months, like, here's the investment for that. Here's the room that you can walk into. And then I'll do more low ticket things where I'll have like certain things that I learn and discover, and I might have that as a mini program, or I might do a free experience. And then I have my Instagram. Now I have this channel where I share little things. So it's like, I never feel guilty about I'm leaving people behind because I'm always opening up doors. I'm not just moving, going, sorry guys, you can't come with me. I'm always like, imagine you're leaving behind a thread, and that thread, people can choose the path that they want to walk up, the doors that they want to come through to then come and sit with you to then understand what you're doing in the mindset. And this is why I love the style so much, because it's like, you know, I've hired so many different people, not because I want to be where they are, but because I want to understand who they were to think that way, or like they've understood something that I haven't understood yet. They've mastered something. And I just think it's so incredible that we live in a world where people are so willing to give knowledge and share knowledge. But I think with that, you have to be very discerning, because I don't think everyone has the right intention sometimes. I don't think everyone cares as much as other people. And I think sometimes they just share knowledge, but it's not integrated wisdom. So make sure when you hire someone, or if you do want to hire someone, that you hire them based on who they are. It might be a result based, but like, I just think be careful of that piece too, because I just know there's a lot of coaching was very glamorized, and I think a lot of people became coaches for the wrong reason because they saw how much money people were making. And I just think that's a really important thing to speak about. So I kept things really simple, right? I held these standards. And, you know, I think as well, when you're moving, people will sometimes be like, well, I'm not paying you anymore. I have actually received emails saying, you've triggered me so much by how much money you're making, I don't want to pay you anymore. And it's so heartbreaking to receive those messages sometimes, because it's like you give everything. And I really feel like there's a piece where your heart strengthens as you go on this journey, but you just can't let anything hold you back. And I know there have been times where I've let things really hold me back because I've been so sad or so disappointed. But this is the piece about the alchemizing emotion. If you go back and watch the previous video, like, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay no matter what. Everything strengthens you. It's like sometimes we want all of the success in the world, but we have to be able to hold the duality to that. There's a flip side to everything. You want to make so much money, okay? Are you going to be okay with what comes with that sometimes? You want the world to see you. Are you okay with everyone seeing you? Because you can't be conditional. You cannot be conditional to certain things, right? It's like people only want the good experience of being visible. But then the moment someone says something mean, or there's a hate page made about them, they're like, oh, I don't want to be visible anymore. But it's like, you cannot be conditional. If everyone's going to see you, everyone's going to see you. And I think that's like, you just get to decide that you're going to be okay, that you're strong enough to handle that. But I just believe there are so many ways to scale. $1 million in itself, it's not actually a lot of money when you break it down. Like, when you break it down, it's not a lot of money. And don't cancel me for saying that. Don't come for me for saying that. Of course, it's a lot of money. But I think, like, you want to normalize it as well. And there's nothing normal about that. It's crazy, it's wild. But just don't pedestal it. I want to say that as well. Don't pedestal the number of like, I need to be this sort of version of myself to get there. There are people that are not good people making a lot of money. There are people that have like silly ideas and then they go and make like millions of dollars. You think about like, I don't even understand crypto and NFTs. Like people are making a lot of money from doing things. So it's like, why not you? Why can't it be you? And there's nothing worthy that you need to become. I think you need to get good at what you're doing. I think the good enough conversation about like, I'm not good enough. I love this conversation because I actually believe that's true. I believe if you have a thought of I'm not good enough, it's like, you're probably not good enough yet. You're probably not good enough yet. I had to become good enough at branding, at sales, at articulating my offer and my message. I had to strengthen skill sets, and that made me better. So I don't ever look at that and be like, I need to become worthy, I'm not good enough. And people go into this shame spiral about that. But I'm like, I use that information to really thrive. I use that information to get better. And that's the entire point. The entire point of doing this is to be better, to evolve, to grow. And you get to leverage all of that wisdom and all of that intelligence that you learn on your journey to write new books. It's like, I said this on another video or training where it's like, if you're an artist, if you're a writer, if you're a creator, you need things to say. The moment someone says to me, like, I don't know what to say, I'm like, go outside and live your life. Go put yourself in an uncomfortable room and see who you are in that space. Go read a book, go learn, go run, go do something. Because if you got nothing to say, that shows me how often you're playing into certain limitations. Go outside and go do something big with your life. And you will have so much to say. You will have so much to tell people. So I just think like we're in a world right now where we get to really leverage our mind and leverage our skill sets and whatever medium we want to transfer that knowledge into, whether it's you want to create, like I did 10 years ago, a fashion label, or you want to write a book, or you want to do a podcast, like whatever it is, you're transferring your vision, your knowledge, your intelligence into certain vehicles, and that's all it is. And then the money is just the result of that. You get really good at that. You get really good at identifying how to open up different monetization channels. And what I mean by that is like, for example, I had my book Ignite Your Spark, and then I had the program, and then I had the mentorship. Like I could have just had those 3 products and I could have just kept building awareness. And that also could have resulted in the million. Like it just can happen in so many ways. So don't get too fixed on what the way is. Find something that you're obsessed with. Find something that you love. There's no strategy, but if you love what you do, your world will change. There's this quote by Howard Thurman, and it's like, don't ask the world what it needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive and go do that, because what the world needs is more people that have come alive. And I love that quote because I think about it all the time. It's like, so many people get caught up in like doing market research. And it's like, what does the world need from me? And it's like, no wonder there's resentment. No wonder there's burnout. It's like your entire business has been off the opinion of like 3 people on Instagram. And, they don't even really care. Like, and maybe if you're a creator, you've done this before where you've created the thing that everyone wanted. And then you're like, I didn't enjoy doing that. What makes you come alive? I want you to think about that. Think about that. Look at your current business model if you have one and see like, how can you be living that more? How can you then be extracting the vision, extracting the knowledge, extracting the intelligence, and creating incredible pathways and vehicles based on that? And if you don't have a business yet, think about this. Think about what you want to build and make a commitment to yourself. If you're gonna go all in, then go all in. Don't half-ass this. Don't go 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like it's just like, no one has time for that. Go all in on this and your entire world will change.